What's up, guys? I'm going to show you how I make this Lightning McQueen themed cake. First, I start by cutting out the name, so I have the name printed on regular paper, and then I just put it onto some black fondant that has Tylose powder kneaded in so that the fondant dries nice and hard. And then you can see that I'm cutting on this tiny little mat, and this is a cutting mat specifically for using really sharp blades. I'm using a pen blade. I have them in my Amazon shop. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can go get some of those. They're fantastic. Now I'm rolling out some thick gum paste. You can see how thick it is there. I have the trophy that's called the piston cup. It's just printed on regular paper, and then I trace it, and I'm using a combination of the pen blade and a really sharp razor blade to cut out the shape nice and straight and perfect. Well, as perfect as I can get it. And I'm still cutting onto that tiny little mat so that I don't ruin my silicone mat underneath. So I just trace around the whole thing until I get that shape cut out. And then I'm using some modeling tools just to mark where some of the lines are in the actual trophy. This helps before you paint it so that you can see all those details kind of come to life. So I'm just using a combination of a few different tools. Right now I'm using a floral wire, and I insert it into my edible glue, and then I insert it into the trophy. I put one going through vertically and one horizontal, and this is just so that there's a lot of support when I do insert it into the cake, that it won't fall over. I'm still adding details with those modeling tools. And now I'm painting it with some gold paint and some black poppy paint. Poppy paint is my favorite edible paint ever. It works so good. You just do a couple layers and it gets super dark. So for the writing of the piston cup, I did freehand it, and I mean, it didn't come out perfect, but I just looked at the picture and kind of tried to make the same font. I am painting with black poppy paint. This paint will paint over all other paints, which is amazing because regular gel colors mixed with like Everclear or vodka just will not paint over some paints. So that's why I really like poppy paint. And then I just cut out a little 6, and I ended up putting this on the trophy for his birthday. And then I'm rolling out some white gum paste, and these are going to be the checkered flags. I'm using an edible marker. This is a double-sided edible marker. I have them in my Amazon shop. One side is a fine tip, and the other side is just a regular felt tip. This is great for if you just need some quick black writing or coloring of something. So then I just cut the edges to make them sharp. I'm putting my edible glue on some lollipop sticks, and then I'm just going to leave them to dry like that, and they'll dry nice and hard. Now on to Lightning McQueen. I have just Lightning McQueen printed out from regular paper again, and I lay it on top of the fondant. And I use those modeling tools to get the details, and this just kind of helps me for when it is time to paint. I make all those details. I try to press it through lightly through the paper, and then you'll see here I'm going in and pressing a little bit harder. This helps when I'm going to paint. And I'm painting with poppy paints. I'm starting with red. I do thin out the paint a little bit just so that it's not super dark, and I do go over it a couple of times just to get the right shade. I'm adding most of the detail that I can see from the little marks that I made with my tools. I do keep that picture of Lightning McQueen right next to me so I can kind of use that as reference of where to paint certain details. So you can see I painted the red, but then I also go in with some black and start adding a little bit more detail. Some of the white got a little bit of the black paint on it, so I just painted over it with some white poppy paint on his teeth. And then I used the edible marker for like those little tiny designs in the headlights, and that worked out really well. I'm using a few different colors of poppy paint to achieve all the colors in Lightning McQueen, and I just make sure I add as much detail as possible. And I also try to paint as quick as possible because I don't want this fondant to dry too hard before I shape it. Sometimes if you're painting for a really long time and it's flat and then you have to put it on a round cake, it can crack. So I'm adding the detail right here, the 95 on his on the back part of the car. And I'm just coloring in the tires. And then I wrote Lightyear on the tire with white poppy paint. And this is what it looks like. So you see how it's resting on a styrofoam cake dummy, and this helps shape it before I put it on the cake. And I'll just let that dry for like a day or two. Now I'm gluing it with edible glue onto my cold buttercream cake. And then I go ahead and insert that trophy piston cup, and I put the checkered flags behind it. And then I glue his name, and this is how it came out. I thought it was so cute. Look at the detail in Lightning McQueen. So doing a lot of edible painting really does bring everything to life. You could use an edible image as well, but I think the edible painting just takes it to another level. So hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.